From the very beginning, God has called us to be His witnesses in the world. In responding to that summons, in April of 1983, the Texas Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church recognized the need for a new Methodist congregation to serve the rapidly growing Sugar Land area. Through the Room to Grow program, which throughout its life established hundreds of churches, 5 acres of land were purchased in the new community of First Colony. But of course, land doesn't make a church, people do. And so in June of 1983, the Reverend Will Reed was appointed by Bishop Ben Oliphant to become the organizing pastor of a brand new faith community, moving with his family into a newly purchased parsonage in Sugar Land. Will began his new mission by walking the streets of First Colony, knocking on doors, and talking to all the residents in the area, letting them know of the new church. The first service was held on July 17th in the Canna building, now 1 Sugar Creek Place on the Southwest Freeway. Reverend Reed indicated that about half of the congregation that first Sunday was made of relatives he had recruited. That same day, the newly organized church had its first youth Sunday school service. The following day, a church office was set up in a spare bedroom of the parsonage, and the church's first volunteer workers began their service. On September 18th, the church moved to their second temporary home in Clements High School. It was in this building where several of our current Sunday school classes were formed. Our church officially became Christ United Methodist Church on October 9th, 1983. This Charter Sunday Act was constituted with 107 members, and Dr. Bob Parrott, District Superintendent for the Southwest District of the Texas Conference, presided. On December 1st, the church office was moved to a temporary building at the site where the permanent church home was to be located. This building was given to CUMC by the Bear Creek UMC, a huge gift to a newly organized church. In January of 1984, a building committee began meeting and established a building fund. On February 1st of that year, our music ministry officially began under the directorship of LaHonda Sharp. On October 28, 1984, Christ Church had its own This Rock banquet at the Sweetwater Country Club to celebrate exceeding our faith goal of $500,000. Our groundbreaking was held on May 19, 1985, for the first phase of our church home. This celebration was attended by Bishop Ben Oliphant, District Superintendent Bob Parrott, and now Dr. Will Reed. On October 13th, Christ Church celebrated its second birthday and moved to First Colony Middle School for worship services. This was our third temporary home and is just across the street from our permanent campus. Construction on our new sanctuary began on December 1st, 1985. The congregation spent many anxious months watching the progress of the new church home. On March 15, 1986, the first annual Spring Fling was held to raise money that would go toward our building fund. On July 2nd, our building assumed its place as a house of worship when the steeple was hoisted in place. The day finally came on November 23, 1986, for us to make a rainy trek from First Colony Middle School to our beautiful new sanctuary. September 1st, 1988, Keith Whitaker, his wife Stephanie, and son Heath moved into the parsonage, and a welcoming reception was held for Keith and his family following the second service on September 4th. In those days in the late 80s, lack of money was a problem, so to help keep things operating on an even keel, a schedule for cleaning the sanctuary was set up. Each adult Sunday school class took on the task of cleaning the sanctuary for a month at a time. June 2nd, 1992, Reverend Denise Lytle joined Christ Church as our first associate pastor. On October 10th, 1993, construction began on the educational wing and was completed a year later on October 9th, 1994. At the annual conference, a new pastor was appointed to Christ Church. Reverend David Lanigan became senior pastor on June 12, 1994. On September 10, 1995, Reverend Tom Pace III was appointed senior pastor at CUMC, beginning a season of growth in both the membership and the facilities of the church. A new associate pastor, Reverend Stacy Peaver, was appointed to Christ Church in June 1996. During 1997, CUMC began a contemporary worship service led by David Daniels and Beth McConnell. In July of 1998, Reverend Glenn Morrison assumed the position of pastor of congregational care. In April 1999, construction began on the Family Life Center, a multi-function facility for both classrooms, banquet, and sporting activities. This facility was completed on March 20th, 2000. In October of 2000, a beautiful stained glass window was installed behind the chancel, adding peace and serenity to the atmosphere in the sanctuary, and also blocking the direct view of our resident vultures, Boris and Natasha. During June of 2001, Reverend Jeff McDonald, who had been a member of the congregation as well as our youth director, assumed the position of associate pastor. Another phase of major renovations was begun on July 7, 2002. This Forward by Faith project included the construction of an educational wing addition and a new chapel, along with the rebuilding of the sanctuary. The seating capacity of the sanctuary was increased from about 600 worshipers to approximately 1,200 today. This extensive renovation included the installation of a balcony, a beautiful new gathering hall, and at the same time we acquired new pews and a new pipe organ. This ambitious program of faith, 20 years of saving lives, was completed during 2003 in time for celebrating the 20th birthday of Christ Church. In June of 2004, Reverend Linda Summers Pierce accepted a position of associate minister, later to become our executive minister. 2 years later, after a decade of service, Dr. Tom Pace, whose talents had been noticed by many within the conference, was appointed to serve as the senior pastor of St. Luke's UMC in Houston. And in turn, Reverend Morris Mathis and his family came to Christ Church to continue the wonderful work that had already been done. During June of 2007, Kathy Kirkpatrick accepted the position of Associate Pastor of Christ Church, using her gifts to promote Sunday school participation in the activities of senior members of our church. During 2011, Jason Nelson, who had also been a member of the congregation, was appointed Associate Pastor at Christ Church. 5 years later, Reverend Mathis was appointed by Bishop Janice Huey as the district superintendent of the Central North District, and the Reverend Mike Mayhew came to serve as our new senior pastor, preaching his first sermon here on November 6, 2011. On May 19, 2013, after 30 years of service to God, our church became debt-free for the first time in its history. This milestone was celebrated with the tearing up of the mortgage by both Pastors Mathis and Mayhew, and by a day-long celebration of the entire congregation. Reverend Dan Conway was appointed to our church on July 1, 2013, as pastor of discipleship and outreach. Dan is married to the Reverend Christy Conway, who serves a United Methodist congregation in Pearland and has 2 children, Adam and David. Preston Morgan joined the staff in July 2013 as our 3rd associate pastor, taking responsibility for young adults, communications, and our service in the gym called the Hub. On September 1st, 2014, Dr. C. Chapel Temple, a longtime pastor in the Texas Conference, left the bishop's cabinet to become the current lead pastor of Christ Church. Dr. Temple is married to Julie, and they are the proud parents of 2 children, Andrew and Angela, their spouses, Susan and Steve, and 6 grandchildren, 3 who live in Katy and 3 who live in England, where their father is a clergyman in the Church of England. Michael Wang, a transplant to Texas from California via Duke, was assigned to our church as an associate pastor in July 2015, and his first service was on July 5th, 2015. The same year, Reverend Michelle Hall also began serving as an associate pastor here, where she has assumed primary responsibility for missions and pastoral care. Michelle is married to Hollis Hall, and they have 1 child, Garrett, married to Tedra, and 1 very active grandson, Jackson. G.T. Mangum became a part of our staff in 2015 as the musical leader of our new 9:30 contemporary service, as well as the 8:15 First Light service. With his wife, Rachel, G.T. has brought a wonderful vitality to our worship life. Andrew Hook was appointed to Christ Church on July 1st, 2017 as pastor of Family Life, and his first service was on July 2nd, 2017. Andrew is married to Jackie, and the couple has 2 children, Gemma and Link. R. DeAndre Johnson was also appointed to our church on July 1st, 2017 as pastor of Music and Worship Life. His first service at Christ Church was July 16th, 2017. DeAndre is married to Kelsey, and they have 2 children, Natalie and Henry. Throughout these 35 years of serving the Lord, even while building a beautiful facility, Christ Church has also been busy building disciples of Christ through small groups, Bible studies, home groups, and classes and programs for those of all ages. We continue to be a church in mission, finding a special calling to restorative justice ministries in our area prisons. Mission teams have gone abroad in places as far as Mexico, Haiti, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, Uganda, Costa Rica, and across the world. And in our own backyard, Christ Church has been a strong partner with others: East Fort Bend Human Needs Ministries, Family Promise, Upward Sports, Habitat for Humanity, mentoring students in area schools, rebuilding homes and lives through UM Army and fish camps, caring for those in need through Stephen Ministry, and other care groups are up and running to make certain that all our members have an interesting and rewarding place to learn, serve, and worship. In history, we are young. In numbers, we are many. In service, we are strong. And by the grace of God, Christ Church has become the truly great church God intended it to be, living out our mission to seek the peace and prosperity of all the places where God has put us. For 35 years, it has been a home and place of worship for a dynamic and growing community. And this is only the beginning.